Right now, if I ask you to just, imagine biting into a wildly sour, bitter lemon.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Just the thought of it.
Right. Like really imagine feeling that juice hit the back of your tongue and that sharp acidity making your eyes squint.
Definitely. My mouth is already watering.
Exactly. Your mouth is probably starting to water right this second. Your physical body just created a real biological response. Literal saliva.
Yeah, to a complete illusion.
Exactly, to an illusion. There is no lemon. But your body doesn't know that.
No, it really doesn't.
So now imagine what your body is doing when you lie awake at 2 a.m., just imagining some stressful conversation you might have tomorrow.
Oh man, that is the worst feeling.
It really is.
Yeah.
You are essentially manufacturing physical exhaustion, just this creeping fatigue, entirely from fake scenarios.
Yeah, and we spend our days feeling like we're constantly reacting, like we're constantly trying to catch up.
Right, always on the back foot.
Because we are essentially drowning in those manufactured physiological reactions. We identify so completely with the chaos in our heads that we feel like we are the storm rather than the sky containing it.
That is exactly what we are getting into today. Welcome to our deep dive. Today, we're looking at a centuries-old psychological manual, basically, which is deeply embedded in an ancient Eastern text called the Surangama Sutra.
And I just want to say, this isn't some dusty academic history lesson.
No, not at all. The sources we're diving into today decode this exact modern dilemma. They really break down the mechanics of why we are so exhausted by our own overthinking.
And the anxiety of getting older, too.
Yes, that huge existential dread. And the mission today is to decrypt this ancient philosophy, to extract the mental models you can use to step out of that 2 a.m. panic and find the unmoving, unchanging part of yourself.
I love that, because the precision of this text is what makes it so enduring. It diagnoses the exact cognitive traps that cause our daily burnout.
And without the heavy jargon, right?
Exactly. By mapping out these ancient concepts, we find direct parallels to modern cognitive behavioral therapy and neurobiology. It gives us a framework to completely reframe our reality.
So let's jump right in. The text opens with this really powerful story about King Percentage.
Right, the aging king.
Yeah, so the king is 62 years old, and he is just spiraling into a full-blown existential crisis.
Which is pretty relatable, honestly.
Totally. He tells the Buddha that he feels his body decaying, changing day by day, month by month. He actually compares it to fire turning to ash.
Wow, that's a strong image.
He is terrified of death. I mean, he's looking at his aging body, the wrinkles, the loss of vitality, and he's just thinking, I am deteriorating, and soon I will face total annihilation.
And the thing is, he holds immense worldly power. He's a king, but he cannot stop biological time.
Right. No amount of money or armies can fix that.
Exactly. And the Buddha, he doesn't offer him comforting platitudes about the afterlife or anything like that.
No, he goes a completely different route.
He asks the king a highly specific, very grounding question. He asks him to recall the first time he ever saw the Ganges River.
Okay, so the king says he was 3 years old, right, when
Yeah.
his mother brought him to the banks of the river.
Yeah, 3 years old. And then the Buddha asks him to recall seeing the river again when he was 13. And finally, right now, at age 62.
So, obviously, the king admits that his face has wrinkled and his physical body has aged drastically since he was a toddler on those riverbanks.
Right. But then the Buddha asks this pivotal question. He says, did your seeing of the river wrinkle?
Okay, wait, that's such a good question. Did your seeing wrinkle?
Yeah. The Buddha is forcing a wedge between the king's biological reality and his core awareness.
Because the physical body, like the cells, the skin, the joints, all of that changes, ages, and eventually dies.
Exactly. But the actual capacity to be aware, the pure seeing of the river, well, it feels exactly the same to the king at 62 as it did when he was 3.
That is wild to think about.
The physical body wrinkled, sure, but the invisible awareness observing the river didn't age a single day.
Okay, but let me push back on that for a second. Because if my brain gets old and foggy, doesn't my awareness age too?
How do you mean?
Well, think of a camera, right? If I have a camera set up to take pictures of a crumbling ancient building over several decades, the camera lens itself is going to get scratched eventually.
Wear and tear.
Yeah, the battery is going to degrade, the internal processor will get slow and glitchy. So doesn't the camera, which is our awareness in this analogy, actually get old just because it's interacting with the physical world?
Okay, that is a great analogy. Let's look closer at that camera, though.
Yeah.
The lens getting scratched and the processor slowing down, that is your brain's cognitive function.
Like memory and stuff.
Exactly. Your memory recall, Your processing speed, your ability to quickly remember a name, that is the biological hardware, and yes, it absolutely degrades.
Right, which is terrifying.
It is. But the text is pointing to something much deeper than the hardware. It's pointing to the sheer raw fact that an image is being captured at all.
Oh, I see.
The content of what you see changes. The sharpness of your thoughts might dull. But the underlying empty space of awareness that allows the experience of seeing to happen in the first place, that doesn't have a physical form.
So you can scratch a physical lens, but you cannot scratch the pure light passing through it.
Exactly. That is exactly it.
Wow, okay. So we look in the mirror, we see the wrinkles, we feel the brain fog, and our immediate reaction is, I am decaying.
Yes.
But this shift tells us the vehicle is aging, while the silent observer inside the vehicle remains completely untouched.
You hit the nail on the head. You are not your aging joints, and you are not your fading memory. Those are phenomena you are just experiencing.
Right, they are happening to you, but they aren't you.
And by identifying with that unaging awareness, the king's terror of annihilation just vanishes. He realizes something within him was never born and therefore cannot die.
It completely severs that panicked attachment to the biological machine.
Exactly.
But, okay, even if the raw awareness doesn't age, it doesn't really solve the problem of the sheer noise moving through it, does it?
What do you mean by noise?
Well, my camera might be timeless, but the pictures it's taking right now are full of stress. Sometimes my body feels fine, but my mind is utterly exhausting. So how does this text handle the pure volume of anxiety we deal with on a daily basis?
Well, the sources actually move very logically from the decay of the physical body to the chaos of the busy mind. And they use this incredibly vivid analogy of a traveler at a roadside inn.
Okay, I love a good analogy. Tell me about the inn.
So travelers or guests arrive at this pavilion, they drop their heavy bags, they rest for the night, they eat, they talk loudly, and eventually they pack up and leave.
So they are entirely transient, just passing through.
Right. But the innkeeper, however, doesn't go anywhere.
Yep.
The innkeeper stays behind the desk and simply watches the guests come and go.
Oh, man. So our thoughts, our worries, our passing sensory experiences, those are just the guests.
It's exactly.
Like that random embarrassing memory from 5 years ago that pops into your head while you're trying to fall asleep.
Yeah, that is a guest.
Or the dread about tomorrow's performance review, another guest. And our core awareness is the innkeeper.
Yes. And what's fascinating is this is the exact mechanism used in modern cognitive behavioral therapy and clinical mindfulness too.
Really? How so?
Well, in CDT, the primary objective is cognitive diffusion. That means creating distance between the observer and the thought.
Right, because normally we just fuse with the thought.
Exactly. When a thought enters a stressed mind, we tend to wear it like a pair of glasses, seeing the whole world through it. We say, I am angry, fusing our entire identity with the emotion.
So how does the innkeeper mindset change that?
The innkeeper mindset practices saying, I am experiencing a feeling of anger. You recognize that anger is just a temporary traveler checking into the inn for the afternoon.
Okay, but what if I have a terrible Airbnb guest who just refuses to leave?
That happens a lot, yeah.
Because, I mean, my anxiety doesn't feel like a polite traveler who stays for one night and leaves a nice review. My anxiety feels like it has moved its furniture in, changed the locks, and now it owns the entire building.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Right, so how do I just be the innkeeper when the guest is actively trashing the lobby?
Well, we struggle with this mostly because of evolutionary biology. You see, the amygdala, the fear center of the brain, it doesn't know the difference between a physical tiger in the room and, say, a passive-aggressive email from your boss.
That is so true. The physical panic is exactly the same.
Right. And when that alarm sounds, survival instinct kicks in, and we completely forget we are the innkeeper.
We just totally lose our cool.
We jump over the front desk, run into the lobby, and start screaming right alongside the panicked guest. We lose our seat of steady awareness and accidentally identify as the anxiety.
We abandon the desk to join the riot.
We do. And if you fight the loud guest, you just create more noise in the inn.
Because you can't violently force an anxious thought out of your head without generating more anxiety.
Exactly. The neurological shift happens simply by remembering your position. You just sit back behind the desk and say, okay, there was a very loud, very persistent guest in the lobby right now.
Just acknowledging it.
Yeah. You say, it is highly uncomfortable, but it is not me. I am the space in which this tantrum is happening.
Oh, that is so powerful.
And doing that actually engages the prefrontal cortex, the logical part of the brain, which naturally dampens the amygdala's alarm.
Yeah.
Over time, because all thoughts are impermanent, the guest runs out of energy and leaves.
So taking that into a stressful work week changes the entire texture of a bad day. Just recognizing the stress as a guest in the building rather than the building itself.
It really does change everything.
This actually leads directly into the text's physical demonstration of how distorted our everyday perspective really is, doesn't it?
Oh, the pointing up and down analogy.
Yes. So in the text, the Buddha points his arm up toward the sky, and then he flicks it down, pointing at the ground. And he asks his followers which way is upright and which way is upside down.
Right, because concepts like up and down are entirely invented by human convention.
Right, like in the vastness of the universe, there is no objective up or down.
Exactly. And he uses this to illustrate how our standard default way of operating is completely upside down. We are living inverted lives because we mistake our tiny physical body and our fleeting, transient thoughts for our entire reality.
The text uses this incredible analogy of a massive, clear, boundless ocean, which represents our true, infinite awareness.
That's a beautiful image.
But instead of seeing the ocean, we fixate entirely on a single, fragile, floating bubble on the surface. And we tell ourselves, this tiny bubble is me, this is my entire existence.
And we spend our entire lives violently trying to protect this one little bubble, terrified of it popping, completely ignoring the vast ocean of awareness that actually sustains it.
Right, because we are so zoomed in.
This also pairs with another famous analogy in the text, which is the finger pointing at the moon.
Oh, I've heard of this one.
Yeah, the Buddha points out that if someone points a finger at the moon to show it to you, and you stare exclusively at the pointing finger, well, you miss the moon entirely.
So the finger represents our words, our labels, and the ways we categorize our problems.
Exactly.
And the moon is the actual unnameable reality of the present moment. But we get so obsessed with the pointing finger, like we label ourselves as chronically anxious or a failure or burnt out.
Yes, and we mistake those psychological labels for the total reality of our existence.
But wait, let me be the skeptic again here. Because my bubble has all my actual life in it.
Sure.
My job, my relationships, my mortgage, my physical health. I have to care about the bubble because, frankly, the ocean isn't going to pay my rent and the moon isn't going to answer my emails.
That is a very fair point.
Right. Like, it sounds peaceful to say don't focus on the bubble, but the bubble is where the consequences are.
Well, the philosophy isn't telling you to ignore your life, quit your job, and just stare blankly at the water.
Okay, good.
It isn't a call to check out of your responsibilities at all. It is asking for a shift in proportion. It is asking you to stop letting the bubble define the absolute totality of your existence.
Ah, so it's a matter of scale.
Exactly. When you believe the bubble is all there is, a bad day at work or a financial stressor feels like a literal life or death crisis to your nervous system.
Because your body pumps cortisol because it thinks your entire existence is about to be annihilated.
Right. But when you realize the bubble is just a tiny temporary form floating on the vast ocean of your awareness, you can still tend to the bubble. You can fiercely negotiate your salary, pay your rent, answer your emails, but the crushing existential weight is gone.
You are operating the bubble, but you are anchored in the deep water.
Perfectly different.
That really significantly lowers the temperature of a crisis. But, it brings us right back to the lemon from the beginning.
Ah, yes, the lemon.
If these stressful scenarios in our heads are just labels, just pointing fingers, why do they cause our hearts to race? Why does the bubble feel so intensely physically real?
Well, the text dives deeply into the actual mechanics of how the mind physically manufactures illusions.
How does it explain that?
It breaks down the mechanics of perception using what early Buddhist philosophy calls the skandhas.
The skandhas. What are those?
They are essentially the layers of human experience. It starts with form, which is the physical world, then feeling, which is our raw initial sensation, then perception, where we label it.
Okay, following so far.
Then mental formations, where we build a narrative or anxiety around it. And finally, consciousness, our awareness of the whole process.
So it's like an assembly line of reality?
Exactly. And the text uses optical illusions to show how quickly this process goes wrong. Like, it describes a person with a cataract in their eye who looks at a lamp and sees a glowing, multicolored halo around it.
Right, but the halo isn't actually on the lamp.
Exactly. It's a defect in the biological hardware of the eye. Or it mentions a shared delusion where atmospheric distortion causes a whole country to look up and see two suns.
Oh, wow. But the most visceral example they use is the sour plum.
Yes, very similar to our lemon.
The text says, if you simply talk about a sour plum, your mouth waters. If you just think about standing on the edge of a steep cliff, the soles of your feet start to tingle and sweat.
It's amazing how fast the body reacts.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like if you rub your empty hands together, you generate physical heat from nothing.
And those physical reactions are undeniably real. I mean, the saliva in your mouth is biologically measurable. The tingling in your feet is real. The heat is real.
But the cause isn't.
Right. Trace it back through the scandus. The raw feeling, the physical manifestation, is triggered entirely by a mental formation, an illusion.
Because there is no sour plum.
There is no cliff. Your mind bypassed the physical form entirely and generated a biological reality out of a phantom thought.
So if my mind creates real saliva from a fake plum, my mind is literally physically manufacturing my exhaustion from fake future scenarios.
Yes, that is the core of it.
Like when I sit on my couch and worry about a conversation I might have tomorrow, I am forcing my adrenal glands to pump real stress hormones into my bloodstream over a ghost.
Over a total ghost.
We all essentially have mental cataracts. We are seeing halos everywhere. So how are we supposed to navigate a world where we can't even trust our own nervous systems?
Well, you don't fight the illusion, and you definitely don't fight the nervous system. You just recognize the mechanism for what it is.
Meaning?
The text points out that if you know the halo is caused by a cataract in your own eye, you stop trying to wipe the halo off the lamp, recognizing the cataract is the cure.
Oh, that is so good. If you know the distortion is in your eye, you stop trying to fix the lamp.
Exactly. When you feel that sudden surge of anxiety, that tight chest or the racing heart over some future hypothetical, you just pause and trace it back.
You say, my mind is just thinking about a sour plum right now.
Yes, my body is having a real physiological reaction to an illusion. By simply seeing the thought as a phantom cliff that you aren't actually standing on, you strip the amygdala of its reason to panic.
You just step out of the illusion and back into the present moment.
You take your seat back behind the desk as the innkeeper.
And the best part is, applying this doesn't require hours of meditation. It's just a series of micro adjustments you make throughout the day.
Little shifts in perspective.
Right. When you look in the mirror and panic about getting older, or you feel the brain fog setting in, you just find your Ganges awareness. You separate the aging hardware of your body from the timeless, untouched light of your awareness that is simply observing it.
Beautifully put.
And when the anxiety sets in and starts trashing the lobby, you just refuse to jump over the desk. You let the noisy guest throw its tantrum, knowing it will eventually pack up and leave.
They always leave.
And when your heart starts racing over a phantom scenario, you stop trying to fix the lamp. You recognize you were just watering at the mouth over an imaginary sour plum.
There is one final, really mind-bending analogy from the text that perfectly captures how we mistakenly try to solve our modern burnout.
Oh, let's hear it.
It talks about an empty bottle. If you take a glass bottle, seal it up tightly, and travel 1,000 miles away to a completely different country.
Okay, I'm with you.
Did you actually transport the emptiness inside the bottle from one place to another? And if you open the bottle in the new country, does the old emptiness pour out?
Wow. No, of course not. It's just space. You can't pack up and transport empty space.
Right.
And for anyone listening, I want you to think about what this means for the way you handle your own exhaustion. Because how often do we do exactly this?
All the time.
We hit a wall of burnout, so we book a vacation to escape our stress, or we impulsively change jobs to run away from the pressure. We pack our bags, travel 1,000 miles, and pop the cork on the bottle, desperately hoping things will feel different.
But the exhaustion isn't in the places we go or the jobs we do. It's in how we identify with the chaos.
Yeah.
If you don't realize you are the innkeeper, you will just bring the noisy guest with you to the beach. You can change the scenery, you can change the bubble. But the core awareness, the pure space inside, is always exactly where you left it.
The face changes, the scenery changes, the guests come and go. But the awareness looking out through your eyes is as pristine, unbothered, and timeless as it was the day you were born.
That's the real takeaway.
Be the sky, not the storm. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.